Hi, welcome to Big Daddy Bakes. I'm Big Daddy, and today we're going to be making Swedish Limpa Bread. Limpa Bread is a rye bread made with regular bread flour and rye. It has some orange rind in it. It has a delicate taste, and it is very, very good. A friend of mine, I was talking about making rye bread, and she said, why don't you try Limpa? And so I tried it. It's wonderful. And I think you would like to make it as well. So let's get to it, and I'll show you how to do it. For this recipe, you will need 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of water and molasses, the zest of an orange, a cup of buttermilk, and to that I've added 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, which will neutralize some of the acid in the buttermilk, and it'll play better with the yeast. A teaspoon of fine salt, 2 teaspoons of instant yeast, or a packet of instant yeast. There's slightly bit more than 2 teaspoons in a packet. A cup of dark rye. I'm using Bob's Red Mill dark rye. And 2 cups of bread flour. And you do want bread flour with this. To begin this recipe, in a small saucepan, add the buttermilk, the butter, the molasses and water, so what I did was I mixed those things together in the small pot. And the butter has melted for the most part, and we're right at 115 degrees, so I'm going to let this sit for about 5 or 10 minutes and let it come down to below 110 degrees. We don't want to kill our yeast, and I will be back. Alright, I just checked the temperature. We're at like 109, 110 degrees. So we're good to continue. I'm going to set up the mixer and I will be right back. Alright, so we have the mixer in place. I'm going to pour this into it. And then I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to add the rye flour. I'm going to add the orange zest. And I'm going to add the regular bread flour. I'm going to hold out the yeast and the salt for just a few minutes. I'm going to let this mix for just a moment. Alright, so at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the bowl with a cloth, and I'll let this sit for 20 minutes. This is called autolyse. It's going to help absorb all the water into the flours, soften them a bit, and then they'll be much more receptive and build gluten faster than if I didn't do this. So I will be back in about 20 minutes. Alright, so this has been sitting here for about 20 minutes. It's very soft and nice. And now I'm going to put in my packet of yeast, and I'm going to let that mix together. Get fully distributed in the dough. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and pour in the salt. Let that get mixed in. Now I'm going to let this knead for about 7 minutes. Alright, so our dough, it's still a bit sticky, but this kind of dough is slightly sticky, so I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to put it in another bowl. Let me grab this at the bottom. I'm going to cover this with cling film, and I will let it rise for roughly an hour to an hour and a half until it's doubled in bulk, and then I will be back. Okay, so our dough has risen, it's doubled in bulk. I'm going to punch it down, take it out, and we want to make it into an oval shape, so I'm going to kind of turn it in on itself. Then I'm just going to pat it into a little thinner. Into an oval shape, just like that. Now I'm going to place that on my pan. Just make it good. Right, I'm going to let that rise for 45 minutes and then we'll be ready to bake. Alright, so our bread has puffed up, it's lovely and nice, so I'm going to score it. Scoring is important because you want the gas to escape through the cut that you've made, other than like blowing out the bottom or something. So I've got a very sharp new razor blade, and I'm just going to score it. I'm just going to put some more lines. Your score is going to be about ½ an inch down. Alright, I'm going to put this in the oven. It's going to cook for about 30 minutes in a 375 oven. Alright, here's our Limpa bread when it comes out of the oven. You can see it rose up nice, has a beautiful crust on it. On Big Daddy Bakes. If you like what we do on the channel, please consider subscribing. Also click the bell icon so you know that you'll get all notifications of new videos. Also, if you can, please share. Leave me a comment. I love to read your comments. Thank you so much for joining. And honest to God,